Welcome, everyone, to our episode 68 of our podcast, Cultivating a New Generation. In today's episode, we are going to discuss and talk about finding balance in your life, healing the burnout syndrome. To talk about this topic, I used an article from the author Letao Pereira et al. From 2021 is the title Quality of Work Life and Contribution to Productivity, Assessing the Moderator Effects of Burnout Syndrome. The journal is International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. And we are going to go directly to start some definitions to help us understand that we really can find some balance in our lives in spite of the promotion, although in many parts of the world, now there is a lot of consciousness about resting and about detaching from that busyness work-life style. So the lack of quality of work life, or QWL, is associated with higher levels of work-related occupational stress, anxiety, and burnout, which lead to lower job performance and induces significant cost for organizations and, of course, for the individuals in their own health. And as you listen right now, is stress related, is anxiety there, and burnout. So there are three major consequences for your health that are not just going to damage your mental health, but they are also going to damage your physical health and energy vitality. So it is extremely important to understand how this marketing driven business life is now going to be over very soon. Recently, the World Health Organization categorized burnout as a job-related phenomenon characterized by chronic stress. Burnout embraces three main dimensions: emotional exhaustion or energy reduction, the negative emotional state of cynicism and low professional effectiveness. Those are the three dimensions that are related to this burnout syndrome. The costs of burnout are growing fast and affecting currently 13 to 25% of the working population. Workers with a high level of emotional intelligence usually have reduced burnout levels, as these individuals are more able to deal with stress, which in turn could lead to a higher level of productivity. Yes, you heard correctly. Emotional intelligence. What is that emotional intelligence? It means to be more aware of your body, of your life, of the exercise that you have to do, of the way you are feeding yourself, and also perceiving more the emotions that you are having. If the ones that you are producing with the kind of thoughts and the ones that you are having due to the social environment that you have created. Workers with a high level of emotional intelligence usually are much better to handle the amount of stress because they are more conscious that they need time to perform other activities more than just being busy or trying to comply with certain schedules. Such a sense of not being able to accomplish duties, which is what is the promotion in many of the companies, is associated with the lack of workers' health and well-being. It is almost obvious that no one that is in any kind of organization is going to finish all the work that he or she has. That is almost impossible. The companies are designed to always have tasks and things related to work. So it is more about identifying priorities. It is not about um, having a lot of time wasted many times in replying a huge amount of emails. So it is more being conscious about when to send an email and ask the other person or the other people to really send those kind of communications when something is needed to be documented and also something is um, really important. In other cases, you can just call, you can just, if you are in the office in the same place, you can just walk to the place of the person and talk about the issue. And that's it. You don't need to send an email for everything. So it is more about being more practical. Workers with this kind of emotional intelligence have higher level of productivity. Emotional regulation techniques can aid individuals to feel accomplished at work, as a sense of low accomplishment is one of the dimensions of burnout. Emotional regulation strategies could help to prevent this syndrome, could prevent your thoughts of anxiety, of not finishing all the list that you have to accomplish during that day or week. It is more about being conscious about what were the priorities that you have to answer. Such a sense of not being able to accomplish duties is associated with the lack of workers' health and well-being, which in turn can be caused by poor working conditions. What are poor working conditions? A boss that is always stressing you or sometimes even making bullying over you, related of obsessive compulsive disorder over working paper, states that health is an important factor in the relationship between work factors and productivity. So being obsessed about certain things like replying all the emails that you have is an obsessive compulsion that is creating a lot of stress inside of you and is raising many of the physical ailments and many of the compulsive eating behaviors. And that has found a negative relationship between job stress and productivity. Besides emotional regulation techniques, there is a need of further research to extend knowledge about burnout components or demotivators and their role in accelerating individuals' personal commitment to organizations' performance, incorporating the still limited knowledge on the components of quality work life as a cornerstone of organizational performance. So there is a need for many organizations and leaders to start acting and to start knowing what are the components of having a workforce that has more consciousness about their emotions, about what is being productive over what is being busy, and the kind of things that they can implement in the office to start alleviating stress symptoms. Also, having these small breaks between the tasks that you are performing, either a presentation, answering emails, having a meeting, and having a small break of 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to alleviate many of the stress that you are having. This theory of organizational performance and knowing how the stress is impacting productivity, it is also known as the Hertzberg's two-factor theory or motivation hygiene theory, that proposes that motivation factors are intrinsic to the job while hygiene factors are extrinsic to the job. The motivators or growth factors are achievements, recognition, the work itself, responsibility, and advancement, while the hygiene or dissatisfaction avoidance factors are company policy, administration, supervision, interpersonal relationships, working conditions, salary, status, and security. All of those are the hygiene external factors, and the other ones are the intrinsic factors. All of them are responsibility of the organization, and many of them, the intrinsic major, are also responsibility of the employee. So it is also your responsibility to know if the job is really fulfilling your needs, or you need more projects, or you need more participation in certain things, or you need some kind of recognition, reward, or to lower the workload that you have. Herzberg proposed a model where the factors involved in attaining job satisfaction are different from the factors that prompt job dissatisfaction. Herzberg asserts that the opposite of job satisfaction is not job dissatisfaction, but instead is not having interest in the job that you are doing anymore. The trichotomy of motivator factors adds another factor to this Herbert's 2 theory and identifies 3 factors involved in job satisfaction: motivators, hygiene factors, and demotivators. This theory identifies as motivation or motivators for job satisfaction the following factors: bonuses, promotion, opportunities, personal development opportunities, flex time, cafeteria benefits, recognizing the merit, and training paid by the employer. As hygiene factors, they are the compensation, working hours, workload, interpersonal relations, friendly atmosphere at work, industrial safety, work content, company policy, responsibility, and social scheme activities. So there are many things that supposedly the human resources department should be addressing and measuring and knowing the employees and what can they do. If organizations were more emotionally intelligent, they would start using this kind of list to start assessing how the employees are perceiving all of these things and having indicators, key performance indicators on each of them. So I'm giving you the list of factors that you can use to start assessing how your employees are feeling, and I'm giving you the list of things that you should be asking to yourself if your job is fulfilling all of those things. If not, don't take a decision that is in a rush or an impulsive way. Think about it. See what are the expectations in that job, if you can either move to another area or assess if you want to really just look for another kind of job. But be mindful of these kind of factors, because these kind of factors are the ones that you have to look for in the new company and start asking for them even in the interview, because that's being more honest and being more open to have a more flexible kind of workplace well-being, let's say. So considering the employee's personal experiences, other researchers define quality work life as corresponding to the conditions experienced in the dynamic pursuit of one's hierarchically organized goals within the work domains. thus reducing the gap that separates the individuals from these goals that will have a positive impact on the individual's generally quality of life, organizational performance, and consequently on the overall functioning of society. Imagine an organization and a leader that really has a broad sense of these kind of factors and starts knowing what the employees are wanting in terms of escalating new roles and acquiring new abilities. Can you imagine that kind of organization that is flowing smoothly and not with bureaucratic evaluations or performance assessment that are just many times questions that are not even aware of the kind of things that the employee wants, and they are just addressing the kind of productivity in terms of certain external factors and measures that they are just proposing, but not having an input from the employee and what does he or she wants in order to feel fulfilled with the job. And that's why he or she is not um, performing at the level that they want. So it is always a two-way street. And the easier way to do that is involving more the leaders and the employees in evaluating and taking responsibility of each of those major factors. The quality of work life can have distinct meanings based on individual perceptions, of course, varying according to age, position in industry and career stage. In addition, it should be noted that good quality of life enhances well-being, of course, and satisfaction in the workplace, which will be a major asset if you have an employee that is motivated and that is happy working for you. So you will have a person that potentially can give you a lot of ideas, innovations, and real productivity. The term burnout first appeared in the pioneering study of Fredenberg in 1974. Imagine, since 1974, almost 50 years almost, while working as a psychoanalyst, he described his own experience as a combination of feelings, exhaustion and fatigue, a lingering cold, headache, and gastrointestinal disturbances, sleeplessness, and shortness of breath. All of those were factors described in how burnout can be present. Just with that list is for you to really have a depressive life. So instead of that, just if you are a leader and you are listening to this, do something to start evaluating the kind of factors that really contribute to the health of your employees. If you are an employee listening to this, or if you are an entrepreneur that are developing your own company, just have some awareness of the things that you are really or you really need to take into account in order to give breaks during your day, and also have some days during the weekend to decompress and to step aside from work related things, and having time to do also exercise and to eat in a different way. Despite being mentioned almost half a century ago, burnout is still a problem and is increasingly being discussed. As the discussion about burnout increases, so does the use of the word catch a phrase, an expression that includes a variety of conditions and symptoms and steers away from the original meaning and purpose. Despite the pioneering concept of these symptoms of the burnout, the earliest accepted definition was widespread until 1996. by Mashlack and later those researchers reconceptualizing the burnout as the syndrome of reduced personal accomplishment, increased emotional exhaustion, and increased depersonalization experienced by individuals working closely with people. So, what is this depersonalization? That you don't even care about your clients. And we have seen that uh, increasingly in many of the industries. They are just worried about selling, about complying with these metrics that they are going to be evaluated and not being worried about the client, about the satisfaction of the client, about the product, about the satisfaction with the product and the compliance with the product uh, assets or features. Concerning the origin of this type of syndrome, the burnout results from experiencing chronic stress at the workplace have not been dealt with correctly the kind of measures. In 2019, the WHO updated the definition of burnout and recharacterized it as a job-related phenomenon instead of a health or mental disorder. Burnout is now defined as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It is characterized by three dimensions: feeling of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job. So you are not even aware what you are doing in your job, and you are just trying to forget about your job or trying to arrive to the weekend, which is what many people do. They just start Monday with a threatened feeling. So having those feelings about your job means that something is not right. Feelings of being negative in negativism or cynicism are also related to one's job and are also a feature of the burnout syndrome and reduce professional efficacy, which is something that many leaders don't even realize, that some people can do their job and that's it, but they are not really having productivity. And that doesn't even relate to the time of hours that they spend at the office or connected to do the work. It is more related to the satisfaction that they find in their job and not just being so mechanical that they lose interest and they start having these kind of symptoms. Burnout refers specifically to phenomena in the occupational context and should not be applied to describe experiences in other areas of life. It is your own responsibility if you are an entrepreneur or you are creating your own startup company about having more awareness of these kind of symptoms. Because if you are already having these symptoms and it's your own business or it's your own company, then that means that you should be more aware of having breaks, of having some spaces to step aside and have some vacations and completely forget about what you are doing in terms of relaxing, in terms of resting, also doing exercise, incorporating meditation, having more time with nature, eating more consciously. All of those things are going to contribute to allow you to have a much better emotional response. Job burnout can be differentiated in terms of emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, lack of personal accomplishment, as I mentioned already above. And it is found mostly in people who have social professions, such as teachers, doctors, or social workers. Why? Because just being around people so much time can also be very, very stressful because you are not only responsible of doing the work that you have to do, but you are also responsible for absorbing a lot of the energy from people that many times come with not the best kind of energy. And they are also, they usually have the lowest income or salary compensation, these kind of professions. Well, doctors, just when they are in a really high position, they can really enjoy some good salary, at least in Mexico and many other countries I've known that many doctors are not really well paid. Teachers, I really can attest for that. Teachers are the lowest paid almost in Mexico. And I hope that in other countries is not the same case, but many times it is also the same case. So that's why that they have also many of those stress symptoms, and social workers, they are in the same case. Despite affecting professional life, burnout has also been said to affect personal life, of course, of the employees. General health, increasing the possibility of developing sleep illnesses, obesity, diabetes, increased cardiovascular risk, faster aging, of course, fatigue, low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. If that is not enough, I think that list is just to be accountable of having a very short span of life, or having a life in your older years to be really depressive and filled with medications. So you just better address burnout before it transforms into another chronic disease. Burnout also has been associated with suicidal tendencies and substance abuse. Of course, many people that have this burnout syndrome have as a coping mechanism any kind of drug that can be many over-the-counter medications, of course, alcohol, and some of the other drugs. Also, the main symptoms associated with these observed burnout patients are chronic fatigue, continuous exhaustion, concentration disturbances, memory lapses, disorganization, lack of drive, personality changes, anxiety, depression, and a low sense of personal accomplishment. So it's a long list and a lot of things that are really being affected by having this burnout syndrome. Somatic symptoms also occur and can appear in the form, pay attention to this because these are the subtle symptoms, the ones that many times you don't even pay attention. Headaches, gastrointestinal disorders, and cardiovascular disturbances such as tachycardia, arrhythmia, or hypertonia. So what are those things? Having chronic fatigue, having no even strength to sometimes, as many people say, get up from their bed. So that is a symptom that something is not right and your body is trying to tell you. Regarding this professional aspect, job burnout has been associated with absenteeism, decreased productivity, organizational commitment, of course, motivation and satisfaction reduce physical and mental health, and affecting the quality of work. In fact, the level of satisfaction in the workplace is found to have a decisive influence on workers' health. Lower levels of burnout are found in people with a greater interest in their jobs. On the other hand, high levels of burnout were reported as possibly indicating a negative attitude towards work and oneself, of course, lack of interest and lack of satisfaction with one's work. Indeed, in many countries with higher burnout levels, people do not feel happy and they are not satisfied with their jobs and do not feel engaged at work. So, job burnout is something that many of the investors and many of the people at the higher levels should really pay attention, and has been stated as having a possible adverse impact on nurses' performance or doctors' performance, which is going to affect not just the health of that personnel, it's going to affect the health of the people that they are working with, the patients. So that's extremely important. And work satisfaction has to be really taken seriously. It also has been reported that job burnout is present in academics. Imagine if teachers have this kind of syndrome. How well are they going to teach to the students? Or with what kind of motivation can they give the information to the students or to address if they are really learning or not? So we have to pay attention to this kind of markers in terms of the work-life balance. On one hand, a high level of quality work life has been associated with greater productivity and, of course, much better health and motivation to do their work. On the other hand, these occupational stress and anxiety and burnout are related, of course, to this lower performance and affecting the cost of the organization and affecting the kind of people that they are dealing with. In organizational context, the cost of burnout are growing fast and affecting 13 to 25% of the working population. And they are affecting also in many countries with lower GDP and lower working hours. So this is going for all of the third world countries, which Mexico is one of them, and many other countries that are not realizing the kind of damage that they are doing to the workforce and to the people around and to the clients and to the product and to the name of the company. And I can also attest of that because when I was in the industry, I also had an experience with certain company that had a very toxic environment, and they didn't have work ethic. They had a high level of personal insatisfaction and, of course, of people going out and quitting their jobs. So a higher retention or a low retention of employees, and having that and affecting in that level also gives you as an ex-employee of those kind of companies to never interact with their products, and also to not speak well about them because they are not doing even the minimum of things that they should be doing. So if you are in those kind of companies and you are in a position to do something, start addressing the kind of situations that are creating this toxic environment and start having this list of employee satisfaction more in contact and working with that with the human resources department so that you can start assessing and evaluating the real work-life quality. No? Nowadays, the labor force is subject to increased strain due to the uncertainty or competitive climate and job insecurity that also decreases well-being and can contribute to converting employee commitment into burnout. So in general, what is the main message of having this burnout symptom healing? It is your responsibility, 50% of your responsibility is yours as an employee, or as if you are the owner of your company, of course, it's 100%. your responsibility, and you have to be asking more questions about your health, and you have to pay attention to these subtle symptoms such as these headaches or stomach aches or having these kind of sleep issues or simply not feeling motivated to do the things that you are doing or to interact in an aggressive way with people in your um, job description or your job social area. So the more we become responsible for that, the more we can demand from that from our leaders. And if you are a leader, the more you work with human resources and the more you care for your employees' health, the higher productivity, the less absenteeism you are going to have, and the much better quality of work that your employees are going to deliver, either selling products or addressing many of the things that they have to be um, evaluating and doing in their everyday situations. If they are not motivated, if they are just seeing their job as a mechanical thing to do and they don't even have any kind of reward, what kind of work do you think they are delivering? And how do you think the name of your company is going to be tainted? Just think about that, be more curious, and start caring for the health of your employees. And if you are an employee, start caring for yourself, because as I mentioned, there is a huge list of secondary symptoms due to this burnout syndrome. So the more you spend time in a job that you are really having a lot of stress, the more prone you are going to be to develop a chronic disease, and the money is not going to be enough to deal with the kind of expenses that you are going to incur when you get to that disease. So start assessing your life better and start seeing the bigger picture, which is your own well health. Thank you very much for listening. If you think that this is going to help people to reflect more, to be more curious, to ask more questions about what they do in their lives as their job, help me to share this information, help me liking the video, help me subscribing to the channel, and I will really thank you for that. And also, if you want to interact, leave me comments, questions, or next topics that you want me to talk about. Thank you very much for your attention and have a wonderful day. Bye.